Chapter 2, the controversial one. Much of the social media chatter is actually focused on this part of the book. Although some of the reactions are obviously fans projecting their own emotions and hang-ups on BTS, it is undeniable that this chapter is so hard to read. Perhaps in an effort to give armies a more intimate experience of what they went through, especially the new ones, their tone actually depicted their own experience. This chapter is suffocating. It's filled with so many of their disappointments and failures that it actually feels like you're being choked or drowned. Not that they didn't have any victories, but it felt like their victories were too small compared to the challenges. It felt like they were being pulled above water long enough to take a shallow breath before getting pulled down again, underwater, where they will have to fight for their survival again. Reliving the pain of someone you love, it's not really something that you want to do. It can make you go feral.
Hi, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I would really appreciate it. And of course, share the video if you can. It really helps my channel, so please do so. Okay, chapter 2, the most painful chapter for me.
The only true blue social media mainstream success story. Social media and blogging weren't trends that they capitalized on. They were actually limitations that they transformed into an opportunity. Big Hit, in Suga's words, was in dire straits. After the failure of Glam, money was tight. What made it worse is that they are about to debut a year after EXO, the supergroup everyone is crowning as the next TVXQ. And in less than a year, another boy band was supposed to debut again, which was being dubbed as the next Big Bang. So, what were they going to be? Judging from the lack of marketing funds, not much. While EXO released 9 individual teasers to promote their new album, plus a slew of ads and other mainstream marketing efforts, BTS was asked to blog, which they needed to produce themselves and shoot themselves. According to Jimin, they were told that that was the new trend. The staff didn't exactly lie, but didn't exactly tell the truth either. While there have been some artists discovered in social media who became famous mainstream, all of them were promoted in mainstream media. There has been no artist that became popular in the mainstream using social media as the main promotional tool. Until BTS, that is. It was also true that blogging was the trend back then, but not as a promotional tool for artists. As an OG ARMY, aka 2013 ARMY, I heard haters loud and clear when they were crediting BTS's fame and success to social media. According to them, BTS didn't have enough talent, but since they promoted in social media, they became popular. Blogging and other social media weren't the trend that BTS capitalized on. Blogging and other social media were the limitations they transformed into an opportunity. After all, many other artists have tried and are still trying the strategies that BTS used in social media, with an added advantage of a bigger market, faster internet, and better technology. No one has come close to BTS's success. What many miss about BTS and their marketing is that it was never the medium. It was the message. This leads me to my next point.
Against the norm. God bless Bang Si-hyuk's intuition. While other agencies highly control everything their idols put out in the media, styling idols to perfection before a single soul can ever see them, Bang Si-hyuk actually just told BTS to be authentic, just do whatever it is that you want to do. So that's what J-Hope, Jimin, and Jungkook actually did. Whenever they would post their dance practice videos, they didn't have any makeup on, definitely no styling. There weren't even like cheap lights or anything like that, but they were still so cute. However, what really gained BTS the attention is not something that Bang Si-hyuk asked them to do or something that Bang Si-hyuk gave them. It was something that they did themselves and they had in them.
First, sheer raw talent. Look at BTS of 2013, pre-debut. Look at the finesse and power in their movements. It remains unmatched even by some of the supposedly best dancers in K-pop of today. Second, BTS's tenacity to produce content has been evident from the very beginning. The speed by which they were releasing their practice videos, blogs, and other contents, it was very much like a cheetah on crack. Considering they were actually conceptualizing, producing, and editing their own videos, they were publishing something new almost every day, and sometimes multiple contents every day in their blog. The blog was the very first clue in the group's work ethic. None of them needed to be pushed. Once they realize the importance of something, they will grind by themselves till it is done. And this blog, one with a very simple layout then and a simple layout now, became a very important factor in the mobilization of international fans. We will cover that in Chapter 3.
Delayed gratification. BTS actually introduced or popularized a marketing tactic that is historically counterintuitive. It's called delayed gratification. The book mentioned that their very first blog entry was actually RM's single vote, and it took 5 months for them to get 5 comments. Succeeding uploads were a little better, but not a whole lot better. Many of them would actually get stuck below 100 views. Being a 2013 ARMY, yours truly was one of the few ones that would constantly go to their blog, watch their videos. And I did notice something odd. While the numbers are discouraging, they weren't getting a whole lot of views and comments. Their videos were actually getting better, both in content and in production. So when I say production, I mean concept, not the technical side itself, but just the concept itself. They weren't getting a whole lot of views, but they were getting better, and the videos were getting better.
Instead of reallocating their energy to something else, as a typical marketing person would advise them, somewhere more beneficial, BTS exerted more and more effort on their contents. As an example, they started uploading solo dance practice videos. Eventually, they uploaded dance practice videos off the dance line. And then later on, they started using simple editing and filming techniques to highlight the dance line. Much later, all these videos proved useful. As new fans discovered BTS, they also find tons of content they can binge watch, fast tracking the development of their loyalty. Nowadays, this strategy is actually being used by many artists, many content creators, many marketing professionals. They try to upload a lot of content knowing people who will discover them will want to binge watch or binge consume their contents. This is also something we can all learn from. Whatever it is that we do, we just need to do our best, even if no one is recognizing it. Someday, when the time is right, we will be rewarded. Maybe not in the ways that we expected, but it will come. Outsiders then, outsiders now. It seems like it's their destiny to be an outsider, but that is true for GOATs, the greatest of all time. The Michael Jacksons and Michael Jordans of this world. I guess when you're a cut above the rest, it is but natural for everyone else to be below you. They talked of not knowing anybody whenever they go to music shows because they really spend their time studying and learning to improve their craft and skills, creating music and content. They themselves also don't have time to develop friendships. I remember Kobe Bryant talking about the same thing. Not being friends with his own teammates was not a choice he made, but the wages of his work ethic. He spent all the time he had studying basketball whenever he wasn't playing. So he really didn't have time to develop any type of friendship with anyone. This is true for others like Michael Jackson, Lauryn Hill, Stanley Kubrick, Steve Jobs, and others. That was the price they had to pay for the type of success they chased. To be clear, when I say success, I'm not just talking about fame, but actual quality of their work. The wages of their hard work and devotion to their craft is time away from relationships. They elevated themselves so high, no one was able to reach them. This is something they share with other goats, and although I don't wish this on anyone, this is something the future goats will continue to experience, in my opinion. One thing to note though, Shina's Minwoo is the one that suggested to them that they create their greeting. Minwoo said that when BTS went to greet them, they noticed BTS didn't have any sort of greeting. So Minwoo suggested they create one. Their dreams were actually nightmares. They thought debuting was going to be the fulfillment of their dream, but success is a cheat, an absolute liar. They realized that debuting will only mean more arduous work, longer hours in the rehearsal room, and even more disappointments. But this time, it's a public one. When they were trainees, at least their agonies were private, but when they debuted, even their victories were being shaped to become failures. Their first albums, Too Cool for School and Oh, Are You Late Too, ranked 65 and 55 respectively in Gaon charts. But they were so far from EXO's numbers that many immediately declared them a flop. They won almost all new artist awards, but they were never honored by the show or by other attendees. Their performances were obviously so uniquely powerful, but they were being insulted by K-pop for being too hip-hop. And the hip-hop community was also insulting them for turning pop. Karen and the Gentleman. There are worthy opponents, and then there are Karens. B-Free's name was something I did not expect to hear again ever from them. This was a huge issue, not just among ARMYs at that time, but also in K-pop in general. The prevailing sentiment was that B-Free was fully justified for dissing BTS, specifically RM and Suga, because unlike other idols, RM and Suga claimed, quote-unquote, to be a real rapper. Most of those articles have now been taken down when BTS started gaining international recognition. Articles that were against BTS started disappearing. Be Free, after 6 years, apologized to ARMY via Twitter. When some ARMYs responded rudely to his apologies, he said, and is now deleted, that he will bitch slap BTS. B-Free's career also considerably suffered after the backlash. His music videos on YouTube were getting hundreds of thousands of dislikes, causing YouTube to actually pull it down from its algorithm. However, you will find some of the funniest comments left by ARMYs in the video. Just note, I do not condone bullying. While you read some of the comments, BTS does know how to take a proper diss. After all, dissing is part of the hip-hop culture. So when Bobby of iKON dissed RM properly, RM responded properly. This is through a rap. Several months after that night, RM did say that he didn't take Bobby's diss in a bad note. In RM's words, for as long as the dissing happens in a proper venue and in a proper way, it helps the industry. Just don't be a Karen, in other words. The worst brings out their best. They turned every limitation, every challenge into an opportunity. When they didn't have the budget to release grand teasers, they blogged and created a new way for idols and any entertainment company to promote their new artists. When B-Free dissed RM and Suga, RM learned from it so he can better respond to future disses. When Bobby dissed RM, he responded and resulted in him getting casted in Problematic Men. But it starts in how they process and respond to situations. When they were ignored and insulted in that music show that actually tricked them into coming by telling them they were running for first place even though they weren't, they took it as a challenge. Instead of confronting the bullies, they actually built a resolve to be so good that no one can ever ignore them again. It's really what separates the GOATs from mere mortals. When they're confronted with challenges, they work on themselves instead of asking other people to change for them. Heart over body. After Burn the Stage, ARMYs realized that BTS will never allow injuries or near-death conditions to stop them from performing at their highest level. It's really the highest form of respect to an audience. J Hope may have set that stone. He got injured the day of their debut, but instead of changing the choreography, he just simply risked his limbs just to make sure they show an elite performance. He did it again in their 2014 Mama performance. It reminds me of Michael Jordan's Game 5 1997 NBA Finals. He was poisoned and couldn't walk out of the court without people literally dragging him. Whenever the bell rings to signal the start of the game, he still played like it was the last game of his life. It was sheer willpower that only someone with such commitment to their craft can do. Just like J-Hope, Jimin, Jungkook, Jin, RM, Suga, and V.
Army has no equal, and it started with one row. I love that part. I think that is the thing that saved the chapter 2 for me because it was so hard to read. I like that part when Jimin said, and he recalled that he remembers specifically looking at that one row. So for those of you who don't know, you can actually watch a music show, the filming of a music show. You go through the agency. And at that time, their agency was only able to pull in people enough to fill one row. But he said that he remembers, in the book, he remembers them very, very specifically. And he was so thankful, and he recognized the sacrifices that fans will have to do to go to a music show. Because you need to wake up very early, you wait a lot, sometimes you don't get to eat and whatever, but they were still so passionate. So they said that if it wasn't for that one row, they would have given up. And I'm so thankful they didn't. So I'm a 2013 Army. I remember all of these things happening, and there, I guess it hits you different had you been there when it was all unfolding. So that issue would be free. When I was watching it, I felt like it was so classless. It was so tasteless. I could not imagine why he was doing it. It wasn't, and the reaction of the K-pop community was so unreasonable because they were all insisting that Be Free was actually justified for doing that because RM and Suga pretended to have come from the hip-hop community, while other idols did not claim to have come from the hip-hop community. When they were invited by that show, and they were tricked into coming, even though they were in candidates for first place, when it was all unfolding, many armies were talking about it. At first, I did not believe it, but it turned out to be true. Many armies were actually armies that were there in the recording. They actually said and named names, like who were the fandoms that were doing it to BTS. So it does, when you were there, when you were aware of those things happening and unfolding, it does hit you different. Chapter 2 would actually hit you different. So it was very hard for me to read. So when it ended, and that last line, when one of the staff member actually called the executives of Big Hit and said that they were becoming more popular, when it ended, it was like, oh, finally. I can't wait to go to chapter 3. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts though. Please leave them in the comment section. I struggled in chapter 2. So leave them in the comment section below. Please be respectful. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and ask. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I would really appreciate it. And of course, share the video if you can. You can also get in touch with me in any of the social media links that you see on your screen right now. I will try to publish chapter 3 Friday or Saturday. I hope you are having fun reading. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Till next time.